Hello and welcome to a video about this. This is proof that bargains do still exist out there. This was picked up off a local ad last week for the grand sum of 20 English pounds. So it's got a couple of interesting features. There's some things in here I've never seen before. We'll get into that in a little bit. So yeah, that's what this video is all about. I'm pleased to say this is a new thing for me. I don't have any Compaq machines in my collection. So this is the first. It's a nice beige one too. Compaq, a brand I associate with stuffy bureaucratic offices. This one has potential for a bit more fun, so we're going to take a quick tour around the machine. So we can see it's a Compaq Desk Pro. I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong here, but I think Desk Pro is the kind of tedious office versions of machines, and the Presarios were the slightly more fun kind of home machines. Don't think they did any kind of dedicated gaming stuff that I'm aware of. When I first saw it, I was kind of wondering. I couldn't see from the ad what it was, so I didn't find out till I got it. But I was worried it would be a Pentium II and one of those, I think Socket 370 was where they really started hacking them up and taking the AGP ports off and doing all sorts of cost reducing stuff. But no, it's not. So got quite lucky. So indeed it was a Pentium II. Well, I was pleased when I saw this because I don't think during the Pentium II era anybody really hacked and took away the AGP port. And yeah, look at that. It's an interesting kind of marble effect Windows badge. I've never seen one like that before. I guess it was made specially for Compaq. Taking a quick look around the back, we've got a rather filthy looking power supply fan. A couple of stickers peeling off, but no kind of revealing information. And there isn't much else going on here, so we've got a couple of cards in there we can see. We've got a modem and an Ethernet card. Down the bottom we've got a couple of USB ports, some sound sockets for onboard sound I guess, parallel port, a couple of serial ports, and then a weird little VGA thingy up here, like a kind of mini slot, so be interesting to see what that is. On the top we've got a sticker, so it's part of the Desk Pro EN series, model 6350-6.4. so I'm guessing 6 is the Pentium II, so comes after the P5 of the Pentium, 350 megahertz and a 6.4 gigabyte hard drive. That's my theory, and then there's a serial number below that. Okay, so let's crack the lid open. So there's these kind of little tabs on the side. I'm guessing you push them in and you pull, wiggle, pull, and there it goes. So we're inside. Let's see what we've got. So it looks pretty neat. Straight away it all looks like it's going to be toolless. We've got this funky little thing, so the whole dry bay kind of pivots forward on a hingy thing. So you just pop the cables out the back and it should just flip forward, and then we can see what kind of access we got. Yeah, I like it. It's all very neat and nifty. The thing kind of tilts forward, and then you just got these little plastic green tabs on the side. You clip it and it just pops out. Simple as that. So literally in about the space of 10 seconds I've completely emptied every drive out of this machine. So the first thing out is the hard drive, Western Digital Caviar 3400, so yeah, that 3.4 that was part of the model number must have indeed been the size of the hard drive, which also tells us that this must be the original hard drive that came with the machine. Gotta say, it's super shiny and super clean. And then we've got a Samsung CD-ROM drive, so I'm not sure if I got DVD drive on my first Pentium II, I can't remember, but yeah, just a CD-ROM drive. I guess this is the original one as well. And finally we've got a hard drive, kind of bezel-less model, so not much use for other machines, from Mitsubishi Electronic. Okay, we've got all of the bits and pieces out, we've got our ribbon cables out, we've disconnected all the power, we've taken the riser out of the middle. The riser has 3 PCI, 3 ISA, either or, so you can either have 3 PCI or 3 ISA or any combination in between. And we're going to take this power supply out. Power supply is a pretty feeble 130 watt affair, but yeah, I guess this thing wasn't designed to be pulling much juice. And there's the graphics card. So it is an AGP, but it's mounted in a very peculiar way. And there it is from ATI, some crappy Rage 2. So everything's cleared away now and we can see the motherboard clearly, and yeah, I've never seen anything quite like that before. So that's a Pentium 2 laid on its side, mounted on its side instead of vertically. Reading around on these EN machines, there were some low profile versions, and I think they did it like this on those, but to the best of my knowledge, this version, the full desktop version, usually had it upright. So I don't know whether they ran out of motherboards or something, but yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen a Pentium 2 laid on its side. Okay, so I wasn't quite sure how to approach getting this thing off. There are screws in the top holding the heatsink on, and I took those out first. I needn't have bothered because the heatsink is glued onto it as well. But yeah, everything on this Compaq machine uses these, I don't know what they're called, star drive screwdrivers, using the star drive-y bit, the bit that looks like a star, not sure the name of it, but all of the screws are the same throughout the entire machine. So once I figured out that taking those screws out hadn't made any difference, I realised it was just the same as a normal Pentium 2 mount, except instead of it being vertical, it was horizontal, so you just have to clip in the little tabs at the top of the container, and it just kind of slides out on rails. It's kind of on rails instead of in like a vertical slot like it usually is. There it is, just a normal Pentium 2. So yeah, the 350 in the model number does indeed relate to this, because it's a 350 megahertz Pentium 2, Deschutes core, that's multiply 3.5 for a 100 megahertz bus speed, 512 kilobytes of level 2 cache, and not the fastest Pentium 2, because I think the fastest was a 450. So we'll take a look at a motherboard in a minute and see if an upgrade is a possibility. The machine's pretty clean, just a few kind of lumps of fluff and dust everywhere, so I'm just going to get the board out and give everything a brush down with anti-static brushes, give it all a wipe down with some IPA, and then we'll take a closer look at what we've got on the motherboard. Also, after having unscrewed the motherboard, I realised it's got this kind of Apple Mac kind of drawer affair, so you could just slide it out the back without doing that, but I wanted to give it a clean anyway, so I guess it wasn't wasted time. So we've got a motherboard based on the 440 LX chipset, codenamed Balboa. It looks in good nick, the caps all look good, no bulges and gunk anywhere to be seen. You can see that crazy setup for slotting the processor in sideways. We've got 3 RAM chips. The 440 LX I think was the thing that really kicked off the SD RAM thing, sort of did away with EDO RAM once and for all, so we've got 3 slots for that. You can probably see the battery's a bit different for some bizarre reason. It's CR2450 in this, so it's a big old thing. I'm not quite sure why they put it on this particular board. So hopefully this will still have some juice in it, because I don't have any to replace it, like I was expecting it to be a 2032 like usual. I'll get one ordered on Amazon just in case. Okay, we've got our 3.3 volt AGP port. You can see why it has a strange bracket, because there's a serial port directly in front of it, so you wouldn't be able to have a normal bracket there. And yeah, this motherboard will take faster processors. It'll go up to a 550 megahertz processor, so we're getting into early Pentium 3 territory there. So yeah, there's potential to at least put a 450 Pentium 2 in there, which I think I might do at some point. Sound comes courtesy of ESS, and it's an audio drive ES1869F, so we've got Sound Blaster and Sound Blaster Pro compatibility on there. I think Pentium 2s tended to have reasonable onboard sound, so we'll just stick with that for now. So all that remains is to put it back together, see if it works. So this time we'll take advantage of the conveniences provided to us, and we actually put the screws in and put the motherboard in to its tray outside of the machine, so we can just slide it back in easily. And then we can slide that crazy processor back into its rails. It just feels wrong for a Pentium 2 or a slot 1 or slot A machine. One of the cool things about them is the way that cartridge stands up and you can see it. So that just kind of, nah, I don't like that. Very weird. The machine came with 3 sticks already in it, so we're just going to put those back, though it does help if you put them in the correct way round. It came with 2 32 meg sticks and 1 64, and I think it only came with 32 originally because only one of them was branded Compaq, which is not much RAM. Still not much RAM at 128, but yeah, it will do for now. And at this point I just put the original Rage 2 back in. ATI Rage 3D rubbish, but I'm not sure if that'll stay in before I put the lid back on. We shall see. Riser was the next thing to go in. It took a bit of fiddling to get that lined up to its slot properly, but it went in the end, and that's pretty much it. All that remains was to sort the drive bay out and good to go. Unfortunately, the hinges for the floppy drive flap door thing both broke, so I guess they were brittle. Luckily I had a bezel-less floppy drive, so we'll use that instead. I didn't really want to take one of my other ones apart, but yeah, we've got a replacement, so that's okay. After that, it was just a case of getting all the cables connected, and once they were all done, we can power it up and take a look before we put the lid back on or do anything else, just to see if there's anything on the hard drive as it came. And there was a version of Windows 98 which very quickly turned into a blue screen of death, and then it did allow you to go into it, but there was something severely wrong with the graphics driver, and I fiddled on with it for a little while. It wouldn't let you reset resolutions or anything, and was complaining every time. I wasn't really sure what was going on, so ultimately I decided probably the best thing to do was wipe the hard drive and do a fresh install. So once the partitions and everything had been made, it was time to install Windows itself, and suddenly found out that the optical drive does not work at all. So it was a bit of a shame, but I had to switch that out for another one which didn't quite match the machine, but at least we're up and running. So eventually all of that was done, and we had a fresh install of Windows 98 on, and it picked up the Rage 2 automatically, and yeah, we can change our resolutions and things, which is what it wouldn't let us do. No blue screens of death, no nothing, so it looks like we've got a solid install and we're ready to go. Machine works and has a nice fresh install of Windows, and we're going to have to get the old optical drive out, put the new one in, and then choose a graphics card, because I don't want to keep on using that crappy Rage 3D, because, well, I'm not going to be playing any games, and that's what I want to do with it. Once the drives were all in place, it was time to choose a graphics card, so I thought a Voodoo 3 would go very nicely in this machine. But of course I had to take the full-size expansion slot bracket thing off and try and retrofit it onto the funny little Compaq one. And having done all of that, I was a bit disappointed, because when I tried to put the Voodoo 3 in, it wouldn't go in properly. So it wouldn't go in all of the way, and that was because of the serial port that was in front of the slot that I mentioned before. It collided with the tab that holds the screw that actually screws the bracket onto the board itself. So, you know, the cards that have the full-size bracket usually have a little screw at the top there, and there's usually a tab for that, which kind of overhangs in front of the AGP slot, but that's got a serial port in the way here, so I couldn't get it to fit properly, which was a bit of a bummer. So after mooching around for an alternative, I found my STB Velocity 100, and somebody must have had the same problem, because they'd already taken a chunk out of that exact part, which I'd never noticed before, because the bracket had been on it up till now. So it made me wonder if they had a Compaq, but that shaving that corner off the front would allow any card to fit, basically. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Velocity 100. Okay, now that everything's in place, I put the lid back on, and we just need to load it up and put some graphics drivers on. Everything else kind of loaded up out of Windows by default, so literally the only thing that isn't installed on there at the minute are things like the network card, the modem, which I don't care about, but we just need to get a driver on there for the Velocity 100, and we should be good to go, and then the machine will be a glide capable 3D gaming machine. Drivers installed without a hitch, so the other thing that you have to do with the Velocity 100 is enable its full potential. So the card has 8 megs of RAM and only 1 TMU, and of course there's a registry hack, so you can hack that to enable the second TMU, and then I think you kind of end up with something roughly like Voodoo 3 2000 with 8 megs of RAM, kind of equivalent. So that'll do probably quite nicely for this machine, though. If I upgraded the processor to a 450, I'd probably want to go the full Voodoo 3 3000 somehow. The observant among you may remember at the very beginning of this video there was a CRT on top of this box, where we've been using an LCD so far. But yeah, the deal came with a CRT, so we're going to do the rest of this video on that CRT because I haven't really taken a look at that either. And it looks like a rather nice one as well, so I'm hoping it's going to have a nice crispy crunchy picture. And it does, I have to say, I like it a lot. It's got a fairly flattish screen compared to most of my other CRTs. It is made by a company called Reassembling, I guess that's how you pronounce it, I'm not too sure. And from what I've read, they were pretty decent, so thinking this is probably now the best CRT I've got, based on just messing about with it for a little while. So pleased to pick this up. You know, for 20 quid, the monitor was worth way more than that, never mind the whole deal. So it's all looking good. All that remains is to find a game to play on it. So yeah, Escape from Monkey Island. I was looking for a game that kind of wanted a Pentium II or Pentium II class machine, and Escape from Monkey Island wants a 266 megahertz processor, which kind of falls into that territory, or maybe Super Socket 7 territory. So that should be a nice little one to try it out on. I guess that's pretty much it. So yeah, just nice to rescue something like this off the scrap pile. Can't see it being a machine I'm going to use very often, but I shall look after it and make sure it doesn't get thrown in the tip or thrown away or bashed about or whatever. Saved for posterity and for the future of retro computing. The monitor I love. I'm going to be using this monitor a lot. I definitely think it's the best CRT I've got now. So it seems to play nice with my phone camera as well. Doesn't flicker too much, though perhaps Monkey Island isn't the best game to be checking that out on. But yeah, pleased with it. I think this Velocity 100 might remain in here because it's already got a chunk cut off it. I don't really want to cut any more chunks off any of my other cards. I never noticed, but somebody must have had a similar problem in the past. I wonder if they had a Compaq just like this. But yeah, I think this can live in here with its 2 TMUs turned on, and it's just going to be a nice little mid-range Pentium II gamer. But that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching if you've made it this far. I hope you enjoyed watching me explore this machine, and I hope you'll join me for the next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
The way I pushed that smelly pirate right over the rail. Now that's the stuff of pirates.
I hope the loyal citizens of Manly don't hurt themselves. I mean, you know, all the pushing and shoving on the dock to see my, our return. Could be dangerous. Make sure this one stays on top.
Then there was the swab who came at me with the rusty fid. I sure taught